Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. It's draft week, and damn it, all I'm seeing all over the place is the Eagles need to go get Bijan Robinson at 10. This offense will be unstoppable. And it kind of blows my mind that he gets spoken about like he's a mythical creature. Let me just lay out the groundwork before we dive into it. I'm not against Bijan Robinson. I don't want him at 10. I think he is a special talent. I do feel him with Jalen Hurts and this offensive line would be outrageous. So I see why it's exciting. It's flashy. It's a sexy pick. I'm totally aware. I don't think that that's how I would prioritize a 10th overall pick. If you trade back, get him at around 15, 16, and then you also have another asset, so it's Bijan plus, well, then I'm more intrigued. I'm not ruling out adding him to this roster and then dreaming of what Brian Johnson can do with this offense. Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, so many damn weapons. What is the opponent going to do when they're sitting with their defensive coordinator going over the tape, trying to come up with the game plan to stop this beast, right? So I get it, but I don't want to prioritize my number 10 overall pick. Keep in mind, the Eagles are a good team. You are not going to be drafting that high very often. So I want to maximize where we are. My number one option, if I'm Howie Roseman, it's simple. I'm getting Jalen Carter. Hoping that he falls to the 7-8 range. I'm going up. I'm going to use some of my other picks. I'm going to find a way to land Jalen Carter. Just so you can visualize what I want to do with that pick. See, with Bijan Robinson, and I get it, 5 years is a long time. I know that you don't re-sign running backs. You pick Miles Sanders, and then when Miles Sanders' time is up, you move on from him. Why I bring that up is I'm looking to replace Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, players who have been here for a long period of time. They're on the back nine. They don't have much time left. We're at the point where Fletcher Cox does better when you bring in Linval Joseph and Sue. You want to take away snaps from Fletch to keep him with some spunk. You need to give him some time off so he can have more worth, right? That's where Fletcher Cox is. I bring that up because you look at some of the recent players. Brandon Graham, 2010 to now. We're in 2023. It's a lot of damn seasons. Fletcher Cox, 2012 to now. Zach Ertz was 2013 to 2021. Lane Johnson, 2013 to now. I want to try and land a player who we can look at 13 years from now, 12 years from now, and say cornerstone piece. I think you have that with Jordan Davis. Let's beef up that defensive line. The Philadelphia Eagles have had a plan for a long period of time. They have a method about building in the trenches that has clearly kept them with sustained success for a long period of time now. I don't believe that the running back position is the one that should destroy the trend. Now, I'm not saying everything they do is perfect. Personally, I wouldn't wait 20 plus years to go draft a corner in the first round. I would try and find a stud corner, but instead, they make their trades to go get Darius Slay. They get James Bradbury because the New York Giants felt obligated to release him, and then bang, you prowl and you pounce on a golden A-plus chance, and then now you have some good, solid veterans in your secondary, which is fine. I'm just trying to inform you that I'm not in love with everything they do in the draft as a franchise because I would land a young talent in that secondary. But when it comes to running back, I want to look at the bigger picture more than just, wow, this would be amazing with this offense. It's getting so bad that we actually heard If they had Bijan Robinson, they would have won the Super Bowl. Would have won the Super Bowl. They scored 35 points. What, did you think they were going to score 42? What, did you think they were going to score 47? They scored 35 points. And the Chiefs, who drafted Edwards-Helaire super high in the draft, who was their guy? Who was their player that everyone was watching as a running back? It was Pacheco. It's just not the best way to value such a high pick. Oh, he's a special talent we haven't seen before. He's a running back. There's only so much you can do. I'd want someone who's going to be eating up a lot of snaps on my defensive line compared to working him in a rotation. And then keep in mind, Jalen Hurts is going to get his runs because he's still going to keep the ball in his hands. A.J. Brown needs his touches. Goddard needs his touches. Devontae Smith needs his touches. So at the end of the day, are you going to view Bijan Robinson with the ball in his hands more than, let's say, a pass rusher? More than, let's say, a defensive end or someone in the inside with a defensive tackle? I want that, and I want young, and I want to build around it. I'm not really sold on the D-line right now. Hassan Reddick, awesome. I like Josh Sweat a lot. He has clearly improved each season, and he's becoming a really good player for you. And I don't know what BG's going to do after that phenomenal double-digit sack season. I mean, it would be lovely if he could do it again. But I'm more realistic than demanding 11 sacks, demanding double digits. Now, I'm not ruling it out because Brandon Graham is a fantastic player. I think he's going to have a really good, strong year to follow up what he just did. But we know Father Time is real, and there's no getting around it. There's no getting past it. Losing Javon Hargrave is big. That's why I thought bringing back the body of Fletcher Cox needed to be recognized, even though we're aware of where he's at physically in his career. There's still some left in the tank. Not the same that was when he was 25, 26, but enough to make sure that you realize it's important what he does. I'm looking at Jalen Carter. I'm looking at Van Ness. Hell, I'd go offensive line over drafting the running back. It feels like it's more of a dream of what this special offense can be more than keeping the football logic in mind. I even was getting people reaching out saying, well, why don't we look at Ohio State? Why don't we look at a receiver so that we can remove this Quez Watkins crap, even though they made a signing from Atlanta for a nice, solid competition over there with your third wide receiver. But then I'm going, okay, we're going back to this of, in the first round, how many snaps is going to be for him? A third wide receiver, a slot wide receiver, somebody going to play in the slot. That's not the best way to maximize a number 10 overall pick. Well, you have a luxury because of how creative Howie was. I think a bad organization would waste a pick because of, quote, luxury. You want to step on the league's throat? You don't do luxury stuff. You keep building from within and creating a monster. You don't step out of the ordinary because Howie Roseman makes a trade and snags someone else's first-round pick and does a little bit of this, does a little bit of that. The way you keep the long-term success growing and you make sure it keeps turning over where you don't skip a beat is you add to the plan that has worked for you for a long period of time. This is where you get yourself into trouble, is when you step out of bounds. Bijan, in my eyes, would be stepping out of bounds. Now, people are going back to the Christian McCaffrey draft, saying the Eagles wanted to, but they viewed him as a pass-catching threat, that the dynamic of him in the offense would change more because he's not just a running back. Number one, isn't that what a running back is now? You have to have the ability to be a pass catcher, or you're not really a strong running back. One of the things that really hurt Miles Sanders is that part of his game was not there. It was missing. And I thought about that a lot. What could have been? What could Nick Sirianni do if there was more ability in your running back being a threat with all the other areas that we know are impressive with the offensive skill players? You'd be lost as a defense. But Bijan is not Christian McCaffrey in the passing game. He's not. So apparently, the Eagles were very, very close to maybe doing the unthinkable, doing the surprise, but all of a sudden, it didn't happen. We know why it didn't happen, but I'm just saying. That's the level of guy it took. Is Bijan on that rare level of he's so damn ridiculous, you just have to? I know he's very, 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 very good. I'm not doing it. And it's as simple as that. Will I have outrage? Will I be crushed? No. I'd be stunned if it would be at 10 at that point. If they go get him, I think they trade back. But when did this pick become Howie-proof? If you know me, you know that I am a huge Howie Roseman supporter. When times were tough, when people were killing him, when he was getting ripped throughout all those ugly drafts and those bad selections and the fire Howie Roseman chants, I was one of the first ones to go, we need to relax. Howie Roseman is really good. He's going through a downtime. He's going through a really hideous spurt. There's been a couple of bad decisions. Some things have backfired. But deep down, you got to give him time to work out of this because he has shown you that he does a lot of great things in the front office that a lot of franchises would love to have him in place to be able to push those buttons. Let him work out of this. From there, we can react. If it continues, then fine. I'd be willing to look in another direction. But you got to allow him to kind of maneuver through what some of the bad decisions were because he's done a lot of great things in his time. And take a look around at the teams that do a lot of great things. You don't just fire guys and have turnover nonstop. My best example is Pittsburgh Steelers. I love what they do. We ain't playing no games. We're not firing a head coach every year, this and that. Now, granted, Howie Roseman has had a chance to hire a lot of coaches, but also they've worked. So I'm not saying there's only one way, the Pittsburgh way. You stay with the head coach forever and, you kind of keep everyone in their place. But I tend to believe that when you do that more often than not, when you have stability, it carries you a far way. But yes, Doug Peterson won you a Super Bowl. Chip Kelly was the hot big item at the time, even though he didn't pan out the excitement level and he was going to be hired in the NFL. The Eagles were the one to land him. It just, unfortunately, didn't work out. And at that point, remember, Howie was kicked to the curb and didn't have much say. He was out of there. But Dougie P, now Nick Sirianni, they've worked, though. So for whatever it's worth, out-of-the-box guys, Andy Reid, out-of-the-box guy. Never number one on the charts, except for the one that failed the most and shit, which is the ironic part. But with Howie Roseman, he works the cap well. He makes beautiful trades. He gets some good free agent signings. The money isn't real. He just makes it work. He's a wizard. I think his drafts are way better now. Your Devontae Smiths of the world. Your Landon Dickersons of the world. The one draft you land, Avonte Maddox, Dallas Goedert, Jordan Mailata. And there's another one I'm missing in there. I think it was Josh Sweat. It's a damn good draft. Very impressive. But now all of a sudden, it seems like Eagles fans who wanted this guy out of town not too long ago for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Even if Jeffrey Lurie had his fingerprints all over that one, the owner said, yo, dude, we need to select this dude. Which, holy hell. And Jalen Reagor, now all of a sudden, oh, trade back 6 slots. Don't worry about it. Howie's got it. What if Bijan Robinson then goes? There's going to be talent still left on the board, but let's say you move back to 15 to try and get Bijan, and you pick up another pick, but Bijan ends up getting selected. Now your master plan has to be on the move. Do you trust Howie Roseman in his worst spot, which is drafting? Not that he's horrendous at it. I don't think he's horrendous at it. I'm just saying of his strengths, that's probably the weakness. Now, he's so good. He's got A-pluses across the board in a lot of areas that a GM needs. So this being his weakest is still actually pretty damn solid. But I'm asking because I remember what was said about Howie Roseman not too long ago with drafts. I don't want him to screw this up and this and that. And oh, my God, I'm so scared. I haven't heard that once. Now it's trade back. Bijan, he won't mess up. There's no way another team selects him, so you'll be good. Well, there's 2 ways to look at this. If there's no way someone selects him, then what does that tell you about how can't miss it is? Right? I mean, if he's that unreal, unbelievable, insane, don't you think that if you went back to 16, at some point someone has to go on the can't miss running back? I just can't look at the running back and think that's worth it. I'm trying to look at the big picture. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I really would, even if it's a lineman. You go to Northwestern, you slot him in at right guard. He plays in between Lane Johnson. He plays between Jason Kelce. At some point, he's your replacement for Lane Johnson. And then Cam Jurgens is going to have to sit out. You play the long game with him, and then whenever Jason Kelce does say it's time, and I had my nice run and I had my career, he gets slotted in the center. Now you have your beef up front with a lot of youth. And Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens. You get your right guard for now, who eventually kicks out to the right tackle. Don't care about his arm size. Jeff Stoutland makes it all work. And at that point, you'd have to get a right guard, I guess. But you would do that. Jack Driscoll. I don't know. Probably draft a weapon who can be, bang, playing right in between those guys. But yeah, I mean, those are kind of my thoughts on it. At the end of the day, I have more thoughts on other things. Like, your quarterback spoke to the media for the first time since the big payday. Man, I'll tell you what, he doesn't speak in normal English. He doesn't say sentences like the normal human beings that live on planet Earth. Everything's a cliche. Now, I do feel that's him. He's not putting on a front, just like Sirianni. In the beginning, we're hearing him talk, and we're thinking, is this guy real, or is he putting on a shtick? Is he trying to be this exciting goofball, or is he really just that goofball? And we learn that, now this is Nick Sirianni. He's a wacky dude. On the sidelines, other NFL coaches don't like it, but he's being him. Jalen Hurts being boys, though, with A.J. Brown, polar opposites in personality. I have to imagine that when he's in the room, when he's on the football field, and we see snippets of it occasionally when the Philadelphia Eagles tweet out and use video footage of what's happening in the room during Week 6, Week 7, preparing for a big game. Like, he does have a different energy about him when that's the case. But, man, I mean, he just speaks in ththese cliches. I don't care about money. I just won championships. Dude, you just signed a $255 million deal. You can't say that the money isn't a big deal. I mean, like, imagine, and Ricky Bo said this on the best show ever, and I was cracking the hell up. It sounded like a guy who won the Powerball, a man who ended up cashing in on millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. He gets interviewed by 6 ABC News, and instead of being like, oh my God, my family's set up, I'm so happy, I'm so proud, I can't believe it, it's, yeah, this is cool. I'm going to go back to work tomorrow. I have work at 9 o'clock. So if you can get the cameras out of my face, I need to be in bed by 6 so I can wake up at a decent enough time to make my oatmeal and then punch my clock, punch the time in. So I could punch in my time, and the clock starts 9 o'clock. Thanks. You just signed a huge deal, man. At the end of the day, I just care about the football. But between the head coach and his press conferences and his brother and the family eating taco soup, whatever it is, it's just nuts. You never know what you're going to get. But, man, I love Jalen Hurts, the person. I love Jalen Hurts, the quarterback. I think he's phenomenal for the city. I love everything about the important stuff with Jalen Hurts, which is all that matters. But just from a joking side here, and I'm not joking, I'm being honest with you, but I'm saying more of a less serious thing. Everything he says is a quote. It's almost too cliche. For the first time, I thought he was trying too hard in the cliche world. But this might just be him. That might be all he knows when the microphone is in front of his face because of how he was brought up, because of his father being a coach, and with Nick Saban going to that school. They train you. They wire you a certain way. So when the microphone's in your face, it's just poof, this is him. To a degree, I understand, right? Whenever I do this, whenever I have a microphone in front of my face, bang, it becomes Sports Talk with Bros. You're in action. You're doing your thing. I guess that's how it goes for him. It just makes me laugh. What else makes me laugh is Jonathan Gannon. That fraud. Right? What a joke. Him saying, first off, he doesn't even know what the record he was. When we were 9-0, people in Philadelphia wanted me fired. Media member, nope. People went back to the transcripts to even see if he was telling the truth or not. Oh, what do you know? The guy's a liar. So before you get upset that the Eagles need a running back and that's why they weren't able to win the Super Bowl. No, Jonathan Gannon sucked and that's why you weren't able to win the Super Bowl. Just being honest. Just telling you the truth. You keep hearing this. You get a lead, you can run the clock out and keep the ball in your possession. While there's times where that matters, that's a small portion of a game. I'm not using my 10th overall pick on a very small portion of a game. And by the way, why did the Chiefs win? It was a shootout. They had the ball significantly less than the Eagles did. When you get the ball, you score. When you get the ball, you score. When you get the ball, you score. Score. And I know one of the Eagles' strengths is time of possession. And they did a good job of it in the Super Bowl. They did a damn good job of it in the Super Bowl. With Miles Sanders, with Kenneth Gainwell. Sanders sucked, by the way. With Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott. Look at how much they kept the football from the Chiefs with those backs and scored 35 points. And Pacheco for the Chiefs, they were scoring their point. It was a shootout. You don't play hide and seek. The offensive teams in this league can score at will. Go. Fast pace, score, shootout. I ain't worried about, I want to keep the ball and hide it from the other team. And look, there's times where that's important. Week 7, you're up a couple touchdowns, you're on the road, you're playing a 3-win team, a 2-win team, you milk the clock, fine. But against these better teams, it's go mode. It would be nice if you could get one stop. Get one damn stop. The offense, my point is, the offense, I think you lose sight of what really happened as time removes you from the devastating loss in the Super Bowl. You can't demand more than 35 points in a Super Bowl. That hasn't ever lost you a Super Bowl. We happened to witness the first time. He didn't lose because of Sanders, even though he stunk. He didn't lose because of the offense. Your offense was plenty good. Let's try and replenish and not waste a luxury. All right, some text messages here. Hey, bros, the draft is upon us. Nothing is better than draft season. Mock drafts and 500 versions of them, LOL. Would you be interested in drafting a corner? Gonzalez, Witherspoon. At this point, because of what you did with Slay and Bradbury, I don't know if this would be the year for them to finally do it. I wouldn't be against it. But I don't know if, because of their current roster construction, if now is the time. When you look at Bradbury and you look at Slay and you realize that it's time for you to move on and you need to replenish some young talent in there and add more to the depth in the secondary, I'm saying, the next wave that is more appropriate, I would love to. If they didn't sign Bradbury or they let Slay and his agent speak to other teams and they make a trade and then you have a hole on your one side, no doubt I'd look at Gonzalez, even though Pac-12 always scares me just because of the Sidney Jones effect. Whether that's fair or unfair, I do have some sort of bias that I would like to remove from myself, but it's there. Even though I think the kid's a great player. Witherspoon, absolutely. If one of your two corners were not here, I would say yes, 1,000 times yes. But right now, probably not. I want to look at the defensive line. Jalen Carter, do what you got to do to get him. Van Ness, I could live with as well. Nolan Smith is a name being flirted around town. I'm just saying, in general, I prefer defensive line. You're right about the 500 versions, though, and they started like 4 months ago. The day after the Super Bowl, I saw a mock draft. It's absolutely hysterical. Do you think it would be a good idea to either trade back from 10 or 30? I like the idea of finding more middle-of-the-draft picks. I think moving up from 10 to go get Carter and moving down from 30 is in play. You have to see how the draft board falls. You need to see where certain players are selected. But from just a broad sense, if that's what they did, moved up with 10 or, moved down from 30, would you be okay with that? Any concerns with an offensive line? What would Juergens do if you draft a right guard? What would Juergens do? He'd probably wait. He'd probably be chilling and seeing another season from the sidelines. Or keep in mind, things happen. Injuries happen. Lane Johnson with the ankle might need a couple weeks off. Lane Johnson with the abdomen. The guy plays through everything and does it at a high level and doesn't allow sacks and doesn't allow his quarterback to get hit. And he is a specimen. But during the regular season, some guy might have to deal with a lingering issue. And maybe you have the flexibility to let them get healthy. Wait for the playoff run. It's week 12. Someone is going through a little bit of pain. Someone could totally use the rest. Now, in other years, if you didn't have Cam Juergens, you'd have to force them to play because you don't really have any other options. And it would make you uncomfortable, but you realize that you're in a dogfight in the NFC East and the Cowboys have a decent record and you're going toe-to-toe and maybe you have to go to Dallas for one of these games. I'm just laying out to you a possibility. I don't know how it would shape up, but I'm just giving you a scenario. Well, then maybe you can go with the Cam Juergens and move some pieces around. So, from the rip, you could also create a competition. I think that could be healthy. Cam Juergens, let's see what you got. Whoever you select in the draft, let's see what you got. This is the NFL now, man. You're not handed anything. You got to win the job. Take it from your teammate in a healthy competition way. Who knows? Maybe someone becomes the stud. Jordan Mailata rips left tackle from Andre Dillard, a first-round pick. Now, Andre Dillard stunk. I don't anticipate either of these two guys just not being able to play the sport of football. But ultimately, if they do have two options and one loses and Cam Juergens sits out or whatever it is, and he's playing the waiting game. But in this league, you see what happens when teams don't have offensive line. If that's where you have the most beef and that's where you have a lot of depth, it's a good problem to have. Trenches. I value the trenches. Okay. We'll wrap things up here. I appreciate it. Before you know it, it'll be Thursday. Hallelujah. It's a big day. Can't wait. Thank you guys so much. I'll catch you on the next one.